lot of teams have some pretty big weaknesses that need to be addressed.
When Jerry paid Dak, he expected excellent. He didn't even get good.
The 2023 season promises to be quite a bit different than last year. So today, let's check out one thing that'll hold back each NFL team in the 2023 season. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray's injury. While last year it was his deteriorating relationship with former head coach Cliff Kingsbury and his play on the field that held the Cardinals back, at least Kyler Murray was out there. After tearing his ACL down the stretch of the 2022 season, Murray's health is a huge question mark into the season, and he may very well end up missing the entire year. Not good for the Cardinals, especially considering that they were essentially all in on Murray. Atlanta Falcons, GM Terry Fontenot. Sometimes we see a team make a few roster moves during the offseason that raise a few question marks. But what the Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot has done in Atlanta is laughably bad. That roster has holes all over it, and the talented players that they do have, like Kyle Pitts and Drake London, don't seem to fit into the offensive system that the organization and its head coach Arthur Smith want to run. Baltimore Ravens, terrible negotiating. Former NFL MVP Lamar Jackson is in a Mexican standoff to the upteenth degree with the powers that be in the Charm City, seeking guaranteed money that they don't seem to feel comfortable forking over to the dual-threat QB. Now that the Ravens have slapped the non-exclusive franchise tag on him, it's anyone's guess what will happen between the two sides. But it's hard to believe that these negotiations won't ultimately hold back a team that should have been positioned to contend for a Lombardi trophy. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen to recklessness. Like Brett Favre's Packers of yesteryear, it seems like the Bills are now at the mercy of their gunslinging quarterback whose decision-making truly makes or breaks the team every week. In Josh Allen's case, the fear isn't just reckless decisions resulting in turnovers, but also because of his running ability, there's also the fear of injury. Carolina Panthers, lack of pass catchers. The Panthers went all in on presumably CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, two of the top quarterback names in this year's draft, when they traded the farm to Chicago to move up to the number 1 overall. Bold strategy, especially considering that they got rid of DJ Moore, their best receiver in an already thin group of pass catchers. They managed to pick up Adam Thielen, but they're gonna have to do a lot more if they want to see their future franchise quarterback actually succeed. Chicago Bears, Justin Fields' passing ability. 2022 brought a new sense of optimism to Chicago. Justin Fields took a huge step forward, and the Bears sucked and lucked their way into their first overall pick of the draft, which they've since flipped into considerable resources to help them build around Fields. But the question remains, can Fields develop as a passer, or will he stagnate? Cincinnati Bengals, offensive line. A different year, same story in Cincinnati. The Bengals did well to add Orlando Brown to the offensive line, but we said the same thing last year with all the changes that they made. At this point, I'll believe they can protect Joe Burrow when I actually see it. Cleveland Browns, awkwardly hateable quarterback. So, I'm not in the Browns locker room on a weekly basis, but man, it has to be extremely awkward with Deshaun Watson in there. There are some gnarly allegations against him, and he is on the most absurd contract in the NFL. Winning cures everything, but if he is not the driving force behind the Browns' success, which after watching his performance in 2022, there is some real doubt that he will be, the other players are going to start to resent Deshaun in a big way, and things could fall apart very fast. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. The Cowboys have finally built a Super Bowl contending roster, but as we saw in 2022, this team will only go as far as Dak Prescott takes it. And this past season, it was barely past a horrendous Bucs team in the wildcard round before being promptly discharged from the playoffs, largely because of Dak's weak performance. Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson's decline. The Broncos went all in bringing Russell Wilson to Mile High last year, in what can only be described as an astronomically disappointing acquisition. They did well to bring Sean Payton into town this year in the hopes that he can revitalize Wilson's career, but with the way he seems to have declined both physically and mentally, it could be another rocky season for Denver. Detroit Lions, who's head of the TE party? For the first time in 3 years, the Minnesota Vikings got to be a buyer at the trade deadline, landing Detroit Lions tight end TJ Hawkinson plus a 2023 fourth and a conditional 2024 fourth rounder in exchange for 2023 second and 2024 third rounders. 2 early round picks is nice, but shouldn't you be building around guys like Hawkinson? He had good chemistry with Jared Goff, and finding a suitable replacement at tight end is way easier said than done. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love's development. Now that the Packers have finally hit their breaking point with their longtime quarterback Aaron Rodgers, it's time to see what Jordan Love can do as the starter. Though the fans were growing wary of Rodgers' antics, you have to think that they will rue the day number 12 left if Jordan Love doesn't show some signs of promise this year. Houston Texans, lack of talent. The Texans were one of the worst teams in the league in 2022, and they managed to goof their way out of having the number 1 pick in this year's draft. The way things are shaping up, 2023 should be just as bleak in Houston. Indianapolis Colts, late to the rebuild. Better late than never, they always say, but after 4 years of slapping band-aids on the hole that Andrew Luck left, it seems the Colts are finally going to accept the fact that they need to rebuild that roster. Indy's hesitation to start fresh may very well hold the organization back for years to come. Jacksonville Jaguars, weak defense. The Jaguars had a nice resurgence in 2022 following the unceremonious ending of the Urban Meyer era in Duval. Doug Peterson seemed to inspire a young, talented group of Jaguars players, and that offense really started to come along during the second half of the year with Trevor Lawrence under center. Now, all they have to do is figure out how to play some consistent defense, something that will only be more of a challenge with the loss of some key players this offseason, like Arden Key. The Kansas City Chiefs, target on their back. There's an old saying, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And the Chiefs have spent the better part of 5 seasons firmly in the crosshairs of teams, not just in their division or conference, but around the league. Every time a team gets the opportunity to face off against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the rest of that KC gang, you better believe that they're going to give them the best game that they have to offer. And now that Kansas City is coming off its second Super Bowl win, that intensity has only been ratcheted up. Every game they play will be the opposition's mini Super Bowl, and that could create a challenging dynamic for a Chiefs team with its eyes set on repeating. Las Vegas Raiders, Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels' first season in Las Vegas can hardly be called anything besides an outright disaster. The team struggled, it divorced with its longtime quarterback, and perhaps worst of all, McDaniels showed the same tendencies that plagued him during his first stint as head coach in the NFL. There is serious cause for concern in Sin City, even with Jimmy G coming to town. I wouldn't be shocked to see McDaniels ultimately be the thing that holds a talented roster back from success once again next year. Los Angeles Chargers, same old Chargers. It really doesn't seem to matter whether it's Phillip Rivers under center or Justin Herbert, Marty Schottenheimer calling the plays, or Brandon Staley. The Chargers will find seemingly impossible ways to lose games, especially when it matters most, as evidenced by their epic choke jobs against the Jaguars in last year's playoffs. Los Angeles Rams, going for broke. Well, at least they won a ring on the Matt Stafford trade because, man, did LA mortgage the farm for a chance at Super Bowl glory. Their roster is now old as dirt and they have 0 draft picks to rebuild, something that the organization desperately needs to do. Miami Dolphins, Tua's health. Last year, the big concern was whether or not Tua was capable of leading the Dolphins offense, and now, though he has answered the bell, that question somehow still remains. But this time, it's because of concerns around his health, particularly as it relates to head injuries. Following the series of concussions that he suffered last year. Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins. 4th and 8, Justin Jefferson running out of the field, and a check down. That's all you need to know about the Kirk Cousins experience. As solid as he is, there will always be a ceiling. One that will end up holding the Vikings back from their goals of Super Bowl contention in 2023. New England Patriots. Are Mac Jones and Bill Belichick on the same page? Bill Belichick wasted a full season in Foxborough by making Matt Patricia and Joe Judge his co-offensive play callers. We know how that worked out for Mac Jones and the Patriots. Jones' sideline temper tantrums rubbed many the wrong way. It's very uncharacteristic for any Patriot to act like that. Is the Jones-Belichick relationship damaged for good? Or can they fix things with Bill O'Brien now serving as the OC? New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr's ceiling. There has to be some optimism in the Big Easy after bringing Derek Carr into town, but while competent, which, yes, is an improvement, the former Raiders QB does seem to have a pretty low ceiling. Unless the Saints truly build a juggernaut around him, this team may still find itself in NFL purgatory. New York Giants, Daniel Jones' regression. Daniel Jones looked like a new player during his first year playing under Brian Daboll, and after inking him to an extension, the Giants will be looking to build on a positive 2022 campaign. It would be a real shame if Jones spent too much time counting his money this offseason instead of working on his game and ended up regressing in 2023. New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers versus the New York media. The good news is the Jets may have finally found an answer at quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. The bad news? Well, he's in the twilight of his career and seems hellbent on perfecting the whole old man yells at cloud thing. And that could ultimately keep an extremely talented Jets team from contention. Philadelphia Eagles, free agency. After having one of the most talented teams in the league last year, the Eagles are going to have to go into 2023 with a whole new set of expectations because free agency absolutely decimated their roster. And even worse, Javon Hargrave, one of the most painful losses in free agency, went to the Niners, another big contender in the NFC. Pittsburgh Steelers, TJ Watt's health. The Steelers are a completely different team when TJ Watt is on the field, plain and simple. The problem being, he does seem to have a propensity to get injured quite frequently. And if he does, well, things are going to go downhill for Tomlin and the gang very fast. San Francisco 49ers, quarterback question marks. After the long-awaited split with Jimmy Garoppolo, there are some serious questions around who will be playing quarterback in San Francisco. And even once they decide, QB health will be a huge issue for them. No one knows how much time Brock Purdy will miss with the elbow injury. Meanwhile, Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are both huge question marks, both medically and in terms of their ability on the field. Seattle Seahawks, weak defense. Seattle shocked everyone with the season they put forth last year behind Geno Smith and his resurgence. But let me tell you, that defense really left a lot to be desired. And without significant improvement, that'll continue to plague the Seahawks in 2023. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, life after Tom Brady. Well, it was fun while it lasted, right, Bucs fans? Now it's time to come back to reality. Life after Tom Brady and back into quarterback purgatory. Until proven otherwise, the Buccaneers are not to be taken seriously. Tennessee Titans, no quarterback. Well, the Titans were never really known for their quarterback play, at least not since the Steve McNair days. Mike Vrabel's built a solid foundation in the Music City, but until they find a legitimate answer under center, the position will always hold this team back. Washington Commanders, Dan Snyder's incompetence. Sorry, Commanders fans, assuming that there are still some of you diehards out there. It's the same old song and dance heading into the 2023 season. This team will ultimately be limited by the whims and, well, incompetence of its owner, the reprehensible Dan Snyder. But what do you think is holding your favorite NFL team back heading into the 2023 season? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.